Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Big Future. I have my good friend Randy Kirk. We're going to talk about tomorrow's Tesla earnings. Will we get a surprise, a disappointment, and dig into the numbers that you can, what to look for that would be good or bad from tomorrow's earnings. Any additional comments on that, Randy?
Only that apparently some people are expecting a positive surprise because the stock, last time I checked, is up $12 today. So, so we've seen this movie before. However, with the big power stock move before the earnings meeting, and then the big drop off after. But that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the numbers because we got to dig into it. Okay, okay. So AJ on Twitter, Ajola Alojo is Alojoh. He's done some excellent work. Yeah, at the bottom of this slide, Alojoh. So he's done detailed analysis based on, we know that there was 440 some thousand deliveries and 443, almost 444,000 deliveries. And then he worked out the revenue just shy of $26 billion for all revenue, 20 billion of which is automotive, 3.3 billion of that is energy and storage, 2.54 is services. So the big numbers to look at is actually the combined operating expenses and operating profit for what the margin will be, as well as the EPS. So in terms of like hit or miss, those things. Oh, and then below there's the margin. So they have 18.7% total margin down here, fifth line from the bottom, and automotive margin at 19.5. So if either of those numbers can be higher, the gross margin on those things, auto gross margin and total gross margin, I think that's a huge thing, as well as the EPS getting to 64 cents, because the street is at 55 cents to 60 cents, I believe, for the EPS. Any comments about what this setup is?
Yeah, of course, all of it matters. I think you're pointing out the ones that you think are the most likely to have a surprise on the upside. But, everything from the average cost per vehicle could be higher or lower than he's projecting. You could have higher gross auto margins or lower. He's pretty high actually on auto margins right now. So they could be lower than he's expecting. I think you want to concentrate a lot on FSD and energy, which certainly are places where there's a potential for a significant beat.
Right. So total expenses, total profit that he has is $2.9 billion in total expenses. Total profit, 1.9 billion, just short of 2 billion. For a gross profit, just shy of 5 billion, 4.854. Using the total revenue of 26, that's where you got the total margin of 18.7. If, say, FSD subscriptions and sales with 100 million, which would mean, say, 50,000 subscriptions at $100 a month, a couple months of that, plus sales at $8,000, 20,000, that would be actually 10,000 would be 80 million, and that'd be $100 million. So every 10,000 sales in subscriptions would be a huge, in FSD would be a huge number. It could start moving this 0.2, 0.3%.
Let me see if I understand you, Brian. I got a little off track there for a second. So you're saying if they're higher than expected, so AJ would have had some kind of number in mind for subscription, some kind of number in mind for total numbers of purchases of FSD. But because of all the things that Tesla's been doing with regard to promoting FSD, first of all, just making it better and better so that more people are going to be more likely to want it, but then also offering these opportunities for people to test it along the way, to download it for free for a couple of weeks and see if they like it or not. Both of those things could have resulted in much higher take rates than AJ is expecting. Is that what you're driving at?
That's right. That's what I'm driving at.
Okay.
That we know, I know people who have purchased it based upon, and some people who have subscribed to it. Other YouTubers have mentioned that has occurred. Elon has said it's over 2%. And only 2%, over 2% out of a base of like 1.62 million possible people in North America is 1% is 20,000,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
2% is 40,000,
Right.
right? If it's like well over 2%, right? Say it's 5%, right? Then that would be 100,000,
Right.
right?
Significant. Yeah.
And then that's the issue is between um, subscriptions and purchases.
Yeah.
The more purchases, the more immediate money falls to my line. Although for things like Amazon Web Services, software sales, which of these are comparable to,
Right.
the street has always said, yeah, your number on subscription money profit is low. But because it's subscription, I know that it'll keep going month after month, year after year. So I love that. It's very
Right.
predictable. I love
Right.
it. So if they give that number and say 100,000 subscriptions versus whatever, right? Then the street
Right.
can then pop that into their thing and start modeling it, right? So, but this is based on 12.2, 12.3, 12.36, which is what people have gotten the free trial on for the last couple months, right? So now 12.5 is ready to drop, but it won't affect Q2. 12.5 affects Q3, right? But if it's a lot better, and I've
Right.
discussed this in terms of FSD level, we did a video on that. If it's 3 times better, that's the difference between a teenage driver and a
Mhm.
regular driver. If it's 10 times better, it's between a teenage driver and a professional driver, right? So when I'm hiring FSD, it's insanely different. But that's for Q3, Q4. Right now we're talking about Q2. Q2, it's gotten better.
Right.
It's twice as good as it was under version 11, right? So how comfortable do people feel with 12.3.6?
Right.
A lot of people felt pretty good. Does that flow into the numbers? That's
Yeah.
the
And from a
question.
bookkeeping standpoint, I'm going to assume that subscriptions are taken 100%. In terms of immediate take on the revenues and the profit.
Mhm.
Whereas the $8,000 for the purchase, we know that's still only at some percent less than 100% until they get
Mhm.
it 100% finished, all
Right,
feature complete.
right. So there is possibilities here where that could be significant, right? Depending, and if it's the number smaller, it still can be psychologically huge if someone asks them on the call
Right.
how many subscriptions, how
Right.
many sales,
Hmm.
right? They have that number. They should say it at some point, right? But that if we get $336 million or more, which would need to be about 40,000 subscription sales at the
Uh-huh.
$8,000, that gets to 320 million bucks. A few more beyond the sales, some subscriptions, and then you've added 1.3% to margin. That's over 20% on overall margin.
Right.
Also back here, we had 19.5 on auto margin. So if you rolled these FSD sales into auto margin, right, then 0.5%, another $150 million of FSD
Right.
gets us to the magical 20% auto margin,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that would be a huge thing. So similarly, energy. So energy, he has 3.36 million, 3.3 billion. And part of that, almost 90%, 80% is Megapack, but then 20% is a mix of solar and Powerwall, right? Solar Powerwall probably been staying relatively steady, possibly increasing some, but Megapacks, we don't know that number, right? If it's this, he's basically ballparking at $3 billion,
Sure.
which we know from the 9.4 gigawatt hour number. They said, okay, we put out 9.4 gigawatt hours. If 8 gigawatt hours of that is the Megapack, which are just shy of 4 gigawatt hours, we're somewhere north of a little over 2,000 megapacks that we're talking about, right?
Hmm.
There's a mix though of old megapacks and new megapacks for that revenue because if I deliver the megapack and then set it up, turn it on, in that first turn on phase, I only recognize, I think, like 2/3 of the money, right? So if it was $1.5 million, I only recognize $1 million. $500,000 of it has to wait a few months, a year, until certain operational milestones have happened, varies contract to contract. But basically, it means that over the course of the last 2 years, Megapack started out 2 years ago at $2 million, $2.2 million. A year ago, say $1.6 million. Now they're at $1 million. So the fact that it was working against us we have to wait until all these things happen before we can even see the money. This delay means that the old price, 2.2, 30% of 2.2 million, which is like $700 million, is flowing into the numbers now, right? And then a lot of these numbers are from at least 3 to 6 months ago, because I made the mega pack for customer A. It rolls out the end of the factory. I can say, okay, I'm not going to start lowering the price at that point. I made it for you, right? I'm not going to start giving you discounts because the batteries that aren't even in this mega pack, right? There's no way the pricing is like that, where I'm going to let you reprice, right? Just like if I made the Model Y for you, if I did a big price drop, right? The fact that it's on the truck, going to you, being delivered, I'm not taking the price down, right?
Right.
The price was at least frozen a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, and these are not unusual contracts for something that is purchased so far ahead of time. We see this with government contracts all the time, where there's a sliding price based on things that might happen, because a lot of these orders were placed 2 years ago. 2 years ago, people thought the price of lithium was going to go up, not down. And
Right.
so Tesla would have wanted some kind of an agreement in there that would take into consideration the possibility that the lithium prices went up substantially. So when you're in that kind of a contractual relationship, both sides are protected against these radical changes. Well, but as you point out, it's not going to be something that's going to be the day of shipment. You decide
Right.
what the price is.
Yeah.
There's probably a date certain, or a date point where you've already decided in advance. Another great example is on what do you call it? Adjustable rate mortgages. On adjustable rate mortgages, they use specific kinds of indexes to determine what index you're going to use for it. And then you also determine what is the date that you're going to use. There's maximum amounts that can go up, maximum amounts that can go down. And then there is a percentage based on what is actually transpired. And so all of that is based in the contract from the get-go 2 years ago. And so figuring out what that's going to mean in terms of this month's quarterly statement, boy, hard to do, but certainly above the number that they're being offered for as far as the raw cost on the website right now.
But we know Q1 and the number from Q2 2023, there are these things at the 1.5, $1.6 million on slightly less than 1,000 megapacks.
Right.
So basically we were at, and there's some per kilowatt hour things that AJ has, we were at about $1.6 million per megapack.
Right.
That thing's going through. The fact that we got this jump up 1.3 times more,
right,
1.2 times more of these megapacks is, I don't think we immediately dropped to the new pricing that's been this year at $1 million. Right. So that some people have said it's going to wash out and blah, 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 some super low number. So let's head over to where AJ, I think he had some numbers. Okay, I didn't pull that out. Anyway, so he had some numbers based on that, and he started taking about 10% off the price. So his number is assuming an energy is assuming about a 10% drop in the price. Other people have been arguing for this, 50% drop so that energy can be low. I think it's going to happen because of the reason we stated. And so, so the question is, if we hold steady, then we're looking at $300 to $500 million more here. We can even get up to $4 billion, right? Based on the volumes went up and the prices kind of held steady because of this lag, right?
Right.
And so that would mean that we could see, the the gross margin go to 20% overall. It wouldn't affect the auto gross margin, but it would be affecting the overall gross margin heading towards 20%.
Right. And we
So,
also, I've been asking around and I can't find anybody that knows what percentage of this is actually Powerwalls and what percentage of it is Megapacks. And the Powerwall prices have come down, but not nearly as much as the Megapacks. So
mm,
the margins, and we know that the margins on the Powerwalls will be more to begin with.
mm,
And it's 100% hits the bottom line immediately, or hits the top line and bottom line immediately. So there's a big difference between whether those power walls are 10% or 30%. I don't think they're more than 30. I don't think they're less than 10. But the difference between 10 and 30% of that total number could be a significant positive surprise.
I think we had some statement from the Nevada um, Gigafactory where they talked about volumes of tens of thousands of Powerwalls. If you had 100,000 Powerwalls at 13 kilowatt hours, then you're looking at 1.3 gigawatt hours, right? So that would be 15%
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
overall number, right? So could be a bit more, but it's probably in the 10 to 20% range, um, just as a rule of thumb. But again, there's a significant difference between that, and then again, there's pricing things.
Right.
So, do you think so? What you're thinking about, and then also the other big number is the EPS, earnings per share, 64 cents here for him, and the street is at 55 to 60 cents EPS. So, if AJ is right that it beat, if some of the other things we're talking about happen, then that could be um, 70 to 80 cents per share, even a more substantial beat on that. Um, what's your feeling about EPS beating, and what does this look
Yeah,
like to take back the other way?
I used to play the game. I used to go into all the detail and try to figure it out on my own before I looked at anybody else's analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, usually in the ballpark, usually within reason, usually higher because that's my optimistic bent.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't done that this quarter, mostly because AJ and some of the others, James Catt and of course Larry Goldberg and others are doing
James
an
Stevenson, yeah.
excellent job of doing this analysis. And right now, it seems like, the analysis is higher than the street. I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody seems to think it'll be higher than the street. I tend to think that that's true. I think it's going to be higher than the street. And then the cool thing is what a lot of people don't pay attention to is this is after the one-time hit of about at least 350 million, maybe as high as 500 million for the layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a one-time deal. That's done. That won't happen again next quarter. And so you automatically next quarter get a 350 to 500 million increase in
Mm-hmm.
profit. That's 10 cents to 50. Well, most people think is in the area of 12 to 13 cents a share. Next quarter, you get a bump on that if everything just stays the same.
Based upon what we're looking at here, I think every dollar EPS is about like $3.3 billion. So basically, yeah, 10, 12 cents for that.
Yep.
So let's see, what else do we have here? So then also there's future guidance, right?
Right.
So what do we think in terms of delivery guidance that we'll have? It'll obviously just be a very general thing. Probably it'll be like, can you at least make the 1.8 million?
Yes.
Can you make the 2
Yes.
million? It's going to be a very crude statement on that. I think that they'll say, yeah, we can get to 2 million because of the extra capacity in Shanghai that they have
Right.
and the recovering there. What's your thinking about the guidance that we're looking at?
Yeah. So I think it's going to be, I wouldn't be shocked to have Elon just say, we will beat last year's number. Just confirm what he said before without any more color.
Mhm.
Um, sure, I'd like to think based on their capacity, they could get this up to 2.1 million. I have said it repeatedly on this show and other shows that it's shocking to me that their sales and marketing department can't figure out a way to sell everything they could build, or at least to sell a significant amount more than they are, given their current capacity. But right now they're trying a bunch of different levers that some of them are working, like the discount on the
Interest
loans.
rate, yep.
Yeah, interest rates on the loans. I think that's an outstanding way to do it. But I do, of course, believe, as I've said repeatedly, that they could advertise that fact and
Mhm.
maybe they sell more vehicles. But I'm not holding my breath on that happening. What I am thinking is that there is going to be, I think that we are currently maybe at the end of what's really been a recession in cars.
Mhm.
We've been sitting around 1.6, I'm sorry, US sales of about 1.6 million a year.
Mhm.
This
It was
is,
16 million a
I'm
year.
sorry, 16 million. Yeah, power 10
Total
probably. Yeah.
cars.
16 million a year on cars for a few years now. The real numbers used to be around 17 and a half, 18 million, sometimes even higher. So maybe we're finally going to see the end of that recession and see some larger numbers, but I don't know if it'll impact the third and fourth quarter yet. So hard call.
Mhm. And then services are still increasing a few $100 million per year there. Okay, total
Very
revenue,
little profit there. Very little profit there.
right. And then Cybertruck is actually profitable and it's increasing clearly to probably uh, doubling in terms of like the per week per month levels.
Yep.
And then the analysis from AJ is that it will be meaningful contribution to profitability in the third quarter, and it's not a drag. It's at least neutral
Yeah.
this quarter.
Yeah.
So that's
I think everybody's surprised how many foundation level products were sold.
and they're saying that they should still selling throughout Q3 and Q4, still selling
Yeah.
foundation models.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then so that way that total margin increase level. So getting back to the way we can get back to the glory days of like significantly over 20%, right? Those few things we saw can get to 20%. If that continues, more energy, more FSD, more Cybertruck, then we can get in by Q4, and then also the 2% boost from um, uh, the layoffs, right? Efficiency. Even though we're hiring back, we're still at a more efficient level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that can get 25%.
Right.
And then, so we had discussed the headcount reduction. So the Gary Blacks of the world, we're still talking about 1.7 million vehicles for
Right.
this year. Only 10% contribution from energy or less, and then $8.4 million in net income. So this would be something that would be a shock. And then his guidance for future years, 2.2 million for 2025, 2.9 million for 2026, assuming a lot of that is a new model, low price car that he thinks is going to keep dragging the ASP down. So clearly he's not looking at significant numbers of Cybertruck, other things to pull the average selling price back up again. Because if you did, then if you had 250,000 Cybertrucks next year, the average selling price would go up to like $47,000.
Yeah, and I've been wrong on this over and over again. I think the Model 3 is an amazing car. I'm shocked it isn't selling more. Maybe it will sell more now that we've got the long range version out for such a good price. Maybe I brought this up actually on another show recently, which people aren't talking about really, is that the IRA may actually be working against Tesla right now. And the reason for that is it's making the hybrids so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I've come to this conclusion is, why did General Motors and Ford all of a sudden pull back on their BEV opportunity and say, oh no, we're going to go the hybrid way? Well, the reason they did that is they already had the margins in the hybrids. Now you had $7,500 off. That's going to be great. Well, hybrid sales are increasing, and I think that is eating into Model 3 and Model Y sales in the United States. And I think it's probably meaningful.
Right.
So instead of actually increasing Model 3 and Model Y by virtue of having that big discount, I think it's actually hurting because of the hybrids.
Right. But assuming that President Trump wins, he would say that he was going to remove certain the mandates and remove the IRA for electric vehicles and for
Yes,
plug-in hybrid vehicles, presumably.
yes.
So then that would then should increase Q3, Q4 sales and Q1 sales because people would rush to, okay, it's going
Could
away.
it could definitely have that impact. Absolutely.
Right, right. So we've said the numbers that could give us a beat, which would be positive. And then a lot of it comes down to guidance because there's a lot of good things happening. So what are we expecting in terms of what will be actually be said that would then move things up or
Yeah.
move things down?
Yeah, I even did a show on that the other day. So, it's I wish I had my notes handy. I think that he's got it. Hopefully he's going to say we'll still have a beat on units. That would be really helpful. Love to have something on 4680, but I'm not sure, given that we've just had this announcement, maybe all he's going to do is confirm, look, third quarter, we expect to have 4680 finalized, the
Mhm.
4680 chemistry, the 4680 design, the 4680 equipment, everything finalized, the final version, and then we can start to really ramp. That's what I'm hearing on the one side. The other side is, oh, if we don't figure it out by the end of the year, we're going to drop the whole project. I think that's probably is zero chance of happening. I mean, okay, 1% chance of happening because it's never zero. But anyway, so that if he gives us more color on 4680, I think that could be helpful. I would love to hear some more color on the semi, whether everything's on track there and what quarter they think they'll start shipping semis. But again, I think that would move the stock about that much. Unfortunately, I think the market's really going to be looking for that first quarter of ramp and seeing what really can be done out of that new facility. Surprisingly, the CATL battery line in Reno could be a big plus. I'm not sure anybody will ask about that. I'm not sure he'll say anything about it. But if that CATL line would get growing, that is a big line. It's a significant number of batteries, and it would all be with the discount, with the IRA discount to it. So that could be a real big deal. Then, of course, the big thing is obviously what the street is waiting for is Robotaxi. But will he give us any hints? Will he give us even a date? For the new the replacement for 8.8? Will he give us any more color on when he thinks it'll be feature complete on FSD, or when he thinks it'll be level 4 or level 5? Doubtful. And what I said in my report the other day was it would take somebody other than Elon saying it.
Right.
It would take another executive other than Elon to say, oh no, feature complete. That'll be with level 12.6 or something, or number 13. And we think that'll happen in a month. Yeah, level 4, level 5 by the end of the year for sure, but it couldn't be Elon. It won't move the market if Elon says it.
Right. Because Elon already said that if 12.5, 12.6 are there,
Yeah.
right, that one disengagement per year, right? I think he's basically talked about the problem of testing that you get of
Yes.
only one per year, right? So one per year is basically saying 15,000 to 20,000 miles per disengagement, right? Which is this huge advance from the 200, 300 miles per disengagement of the 12.3. We don't have the number for 12.4, and now although it's supposedly higher.
Yep.
Oh, no, yeah, so it's higher, but confirmation from other people like
Right.
Hallmark.
Yes.
They said fewer disengagement, but it was more significantly less smooth.
Right.
Then they said, oh, we're going to 12.5. So 12.5 supposedly has no smoothness problem, and again another step up in disengagement, right? So, and then also has reverse, works for Cybertruck, merges highway, and
Parking better, parking right in your garage,
right.
things like that. Oh, one of the other things that could be a real surprise, okay, And I actually speculated about this a couple of weeks ago. When they actually showed that picture, that drone picture of the 6 fans along the south end of Austin set up to cool the data center
Yeah.
there, and talked about the efficiency of that data center being far more efficient than anybody else's data center in terms of cooling, in terms of everything else that it's doing, giving us some color on what that data center is supposed to actually do for Tesla. What is the output that is something that can be enumerated, something that we can put numbers around in terms of savings or in terms of future revenues? Then also maybe giving some color on Memphis, which is XAI, not Tesla, but we know that probably the Grok voice that'll be in the vehicle, and the Grok voice that will be in the Optimus, that voice is probably going to be coming out of what's happening in Memphis. I don't think it'll move the market, but it'll move my heart
Mhm.
if we knew that we were going to get Grok talking to us in the car.
Well, Grok 2 is supposed to come out in August.
Yeah.
And Grok 2 is supposed to be, GPT-4, better than GPT-4 in significant metrics, and probably has the voice. If not immediately, then pretty darn soon. So Grok 2, I think, will be the one that has the voice. And I'm expecting that announcement on or before, more likely on the October, assuming we have the October Robotaxi event.
Right.
I talked about it with Warren Redlick on another video that basically, in terms of surprise, he says we're delaying it for this redesign the front of the vehicle, Cybercab, and for other things to be ready. So the other things to be ready would be Grok with voice integrated with that. Also, they talked about a new Tesla bot version that's going to be really, really good. So you could have the new Tesla bot version in the demo of Robotaxi, right? Because it's all a big AI event.
Right.
And that would be the dream that some people had of a Tesla bot riding in the Cybercab,
Hands
maybe
free.
well, even getting out of the back seat, because it doesn't
Right.
need to work the
Right.
steering wheel. You can just get out of the back seat and then hop out and then wave and do something like that. That would be a shocker of a thing for normal people. I think it can totally be done. I think probably even the existing version could do
Right.
it,
Right. Right.
right?
Yes.
But yeah, also being able to talk to it,
Yes.
right? Doing the figure AI thing where they said, is this an apple? Is this whatever, right? That can be done.
No, no, we have to go to the next level. Nobody pays any attention to me. This is the one thing that it has to be. It has to be the snarky, really human interchange.
Right.
He gets out of the back seat and he goes, "Well, that was a great ride." And Elon says, "Well, what was great about it?" He goes, "Well, you've been talking about this for 5 years, and finally
Yeah.
we got whatever." It's got to be snarky. It's got to be funny. It's got to be conversational. It can't just be this
Mm-hmm.
kind of robotic,
Yeah.
slow conversation. Yeah.
Right. Right. So we could have, and the thing is, if they have that, then you could have it at every earnings call,
Yeah,
where instead of like they had some woman
you're
in a
right.
mini dress talking about, I think that was for Cybertruck, right? The world for Cybertruck or whatever
Right,
that
right,
one
right.
was there. You can have like every earnings call with Tesla bot, right?
Hot.
So
Yes.
so that would be a not it'd be a shift. That would be starting from like Q4. Every
Right.
earnings call has bot involved, coming up and delivering stuff. I went to a Cirque du Soleil. Um, they have a technology event. It's a C2
Oh,
in Montreal,
oh,
right? A few years ago. So basically, it's like TED conferences or whatever you have, the technology talks, except the Cirque du Soleil component is you have acrobats flipping over the
oh,
stage, handing someone, some PowerPoint deck or
right,
whatever
right,
thing, right?
right.
But you have this extra showmanship going on,
Yes, yes.
right? So by next year, all of Tesla's earnings calls could have two, three, five Tesla bots. You have Robotaxi rolling up, with the people in it, just to say, I know you don't believe it, but we're just going to be, this is going to be coming out really big, whatever. In this phase, it's working clearly, and we're
Yeah,
just going to be in your face, reminding you, not just saying, "Oh, look at some deck and showing you the thing." It's like, no, we're showing you the thing actually delivering and doing stuff. Maybe
right,
serving you drinks in the, if you come to an annual meeting, it's like it's doing things,
right,
right?
right.
That's like,
Yes,
this is world changing stuff, is like months away. It's like,
yes,
I know you
yes,
don't believe it, but then who gave you the drink?
right.
You know?
No,
So
no doubt
so
about it. It's an exciting time. This is good. This
right,
next 18 months, I keep saying it.
yeah.
2026 is the year. We got 18 months of additional patience that we need to have, although there'll be so much happening in that 18 months, it won't take a lot of patience. But yeah, by 2026, the Tesla company will be something that is really significantly changing the world.
Okay. So any other things expecting for tomorrow?
Wow, am I expecting anything else for tomorrow? I'm hoping. Expecting is not the right word. I'm hoping that Elon will be in the positive and, as they call it, adult in the room form that he's had at the last couple of meetings. That will probably have more than anything to do with how the stock acts on Wednesday. Not so much even what he says, but how he says it.
So I think he should be in a pretty good mood. I think that his mood's been pretty good since the last. I haven't seen him in a bad mood, other than if he starts rolling into the
Yeah,
political
the
presidential
election.
thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That it starts rolling into that, that would be uh, a distraction, I
a
think.
distraction. Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll see
All
what
right.
happens, and then talk next time.
All right.
Bye bye.